So yesterday, if you saw my Rise of the fuck's sake. Right, I'll try again. So yesterday, if you saw my sort of let's play, whatever you want to call it, video, Rise of the Robots, you'll know that I actually wanted to review Resident Evil 3 on the Dreamcast. I was running around like a fucking penis trying to find the game, looking for the box, and then I realised that I didn't actually have a box for it, because I bought it with a load of other games and it was just like this, pretty beat up, but they had to give the disc some TLC and whatnot, but I got it working and that, so I've already completed the game, so now I'll be doing a review on it. So yeah, that was just a little section for me to say what a fucking penis I am, running around looking for a game in a box and it doesn't have a fucking box, so yeah. So now I've found my copy of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis on my Dreamcast. I can finally do a review on it. I quite enjoyed this game, although I don't think it's the strongest of the first three Resident Evil games. It's I feel like since the first Resident Evil game we've sort of been diluted over time. You know, the Resident Evil 2 had a bit more action in it. Of course the first one was heavily puzzle orientated. This third installment is very action focused. I found that the puzzles in the game were a lot easier than the first two games. So yeah, there are new features incorporated into the game. There's a dodge move, so you can dodge zombies that are trying to attack you. There's also a ammunition pressing tool, and you can use that to combine different types of gunpowder that you find throughout the levels and create ammunition like grenades, bullets and whatnot. They've also changed the way you go upstairs, so before you'd always have to have like a little cutscene, the same as when you open a door in the series, but now there's staircases that you can just literally walk up. So that is a lot better. To be honest, the first two changes I mentioned, the dodging and the gunpowder and ammunition tool, they sort of detract from the game, because this version of the game is very easy.
But there isn't going to be any
the first two games, first game was very challenging. The second one, you know, you did have to reload a few saves to get through the game, but it wasn't as challenging as the first game. But this one, it's just so much easier than the first two. So, you know what I mean, if you play it in easy mode, you've got unlimited ribbons for your save games, and you've just got tons of weapons and ammo from the start. One thing they've also added is there's a mercenaries mode, which is there from the start of the game. You don't have to unlock anything to get that, like you did on Resident Evil 2. There's the hunk and tofu levels. So yeah, When it comes to graphics, the Dreamcast version, the backgrounds are very similar to the PlayStation version. They've not really done much to them. The character models are a lot sharper, more like the PC version. The game is also VGA compatible, so if you've got a VGA box you can play it in VGA resolution, but don't expect the backgrounds and character models to be of a VGA optimised resolution. You're sort of still playing it in a lower resolution, but the blocky textures are, you can see the blockiness there. Why you'd want to do that, I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm glad it does have the VGA, because it means I don't have to flick the switch on the bloody VGA box, which annoys me with some games. So the music is great. I think some of it may be reused from the first two games because it sounds very familiar, but I don't know whether that's just because the style obviously will be the same. So yeah, excellent sound. Gameplay wise, you got the same control system apart from the couple of additions of like I said, the stairs and the dodge manoeuvre, but the control system's the same as it's always been. I prefer to play it with the analog D-pad, rather than the analog stick. I always find the analog stick a bit awkward on the Dreamcast games. When you've got the VMU in the front also, it will display your health on there. So it does take advantage of the extra features of the Dreamcast, like I say, VGA and the VMU. VMU pretty pointless if you ask me, because the VMU isn't backlit and you should be playing a Resident Evil game in the dark. Even if it's summer, you got to close the blinds, close the curtains, play in the dark. So the story, you end up in Raccoon City again, and you're Jill Valentine trying to escape. So you've already escaped the mansion, shall we say, in the first game. So it's similar sort of very close timeline to Resident Evil 2. So you revisit some locations like the police station from Resident Evil 2. So while you're trying to escape the city, you come across the Nemesis, which is a chemical mutant sort of weapon sent in by Umbrella to eliminate the STARS members, because the Umbrella sort of think, or should we say know, that the STARS members sort of know what's going on, which the half do, half don't. So you got the Nemesis running around after you, and to be honest, I don't think it really adds anything to the gameplay. Every time I showed up, I just ran away from him. There are these sort of quick time events, as they call them nowadays, where you have a couple of options. Some action will come up, you select, for example, Nemesis. Do you stay and fight him or push him off a ledge, that sort of thing? And depending on what you do depends on certain outcomes later on in the game, like whether you'll have to fight the Nemesis or not, and what his physical state looks like, whether he's damaged or whatever. But to me that was a bit of a... There's a lot of bits that seem a bit tacked on that they should have just not bothered with. So like I say, the game's very easy compared to the first two, and I think they should have concentrated less on adding all these bits in for casual gamers and carried on with some nice puzzles and whatnot to give you a bit of a challenge. So yeah, that's about all that's to be said about the Nemesis. So as well as the Nemesis, you've also got this little mercenary squad sent in, and they're basically trying to do the same thing as the Nemesis, but they don't really know much about the story. They're just like hired muscle, so it ends up that you and this other guy called Carlos, who's one of the mercenaries, are helping each other out to escape and whatnot. But I'm not going to go into the story too much, because obviously you might want to play the game. Maybe you've already played it, so you'll know what I mean. So Resident Evil's sort of always been about the atmosphere and locations, and Resident Evil 3, the locations seem a lot more expansive than the first two games. Obviously the first game, a lot of it was spent in the mansion at the start, so you were just going around trying to unlock different rooms and whatnot. The second one, you were trying to get through the police station really, and then it goes on from there. The third one, you go through the police station, there's a hospital, there's a park, you get a tram and go up to a, I don't know what you call it, sort of like a cathedral-ish type thing with a tower, I don't know what you call it. So yeah, there's very different variety of locations in this game. So obviously they're up to the usual artwork standard of the Resident Evil series. So I did enjoy the game, but overall I'd have to conclude that personally it shouldn't really be called Resident Evil 3. The history is that originally, when it was in development, it was called Resident Evil 1.9, which would put it, the timeline, slightly before Resident Evil 2. And I think that's sort of what they should have stuck with. I think they should have really waited for Code Veronica on the Dreamcast to call that Resident Evil 3. Just because it just seems like more of the same. Resident Evil 2 felt like a proper sequel. This feels like a bit of a stopgap, something that they could have rushed, and it just feels like it tacked a few bits on here and there just to like make up for the fact that it wasn't an entirely new game. So that spoils it for me, but you still got to play. It's still a great game, but my favourite of the series is probably still Resident Evil 2. So yeah, you want to check. This is the best version of the game to get. Better than the PC version, because you can change the costumes and other bits and pieces on the Dreamcast version. So it's definitely one to get. So I guess a thumbs up from me. So yeah, awesome game, but not the strongest of the series, but still great.